Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Spin It Social Hour. My name is Stefan Kaplan, and I am a social media and visual strategist and the founder of the Spin It Social Hour. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with everyone, especially after another long news week. I hope that this hour and this wonderful photographer that I'll be bringing on today will bring you much joy and much happiness, because right now we all need plenty of that. So this will be an hour of delight, of beautiful photography from an amazing photographer. And Gary Hershorn is his name, and I can't wait to bring him on. But first, a little about me and the show, please. So I have worked with the Pulitzer Prizes, AARP, the Jackson Charitable Foundation. I am also an adjunct professor at FIT, and I've been an executive coach for social media to many professors around the country. The Spin It Social Hour is a labor of love born out of care and concern for our photo community, because when this pandemic hit, I decided that I needed to do something to help and give back. Having been a photo editor at the New York Times for 20 years, 15 years to be precise. 5 of those years was as a news assistant and a clerk. Let's state facts. Facts matter. So out of all those years at the New York Times, I've gotten to know photographers around the world. And my heart was breaking for our photo community when this pandemic hit, because amongst others, it was hit really hard. The economy has tanked for them in certain ways, cut out a lot of jobs. And think about it. I mean, everything's been shut down. Concerts, games, well, games have started again, thank God, and many other events. So I wanted to reach out, get their names out there more, to let them tell their stories, and for you to see their beautiful work so that you will give them business, hopefully, share the knowledge about them, and share their work. So while we're at it, since you're watching this morning, and thank you for sharing your Saturday morning with me and the Spin It Social and Gary, is please share this broadcast. Please hit share now. Please hit share whenever you come on, and let your friends know about this. So I would now like to give Gary the buildup that he deserves, but we must pay bills, and we're thrilled to always have a sponsor. So I want to let you know about a show that I've been directing and producing as a live stream producer for a gentleman by the name of Emilio Pardo, who is a visionary brand strategist. And we have a new show called Real Talk Live from the Barn. A new one will be scheduled soon. Here is the intro. Real Talk Live from the Barn will be scheduled and will be announced on my next show for the next episode. It is a show revolving around all aspects dealing with COVID. The next show will deal specifically with the economy, and we will have some great experts on. So thank you. So now, why we're here with the great Gary Hershorn. Here we go with the build-up for Gary. Oh my God, sit back, grab your coffee, and enjoy this one, because you are going to love it. Okay. Gary Hershorn is a Canadian photographer based in New York City. His 41-year career began at United Press International in Toronto. He switched to Reuters in 1985 as chief photographer Canada before moving to Washington, D.C. in 1990. Gary led major event coverage of the 9/11 attacks on the WTC, Hurricane Katrina, the Haiti earthquake, along with numerous sporting championships and entertainment events. He has covered 17 Olympic Games, 24 Masters golf tournaments, 24 Academy Awards, along with numerous Super Bowls, World Series, Stanley Cups, World Cups of soccer, U.S. Opens in tennis and golf, and Wimbledon, as well as Emmy and Grammy Awards. In the summer of 2011, as the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center approached, Gary began to document New York City, the ever-changing skyline of the city as it entered a construction boom, and began pairing the skyline of the city with various celestial events that happen in the skies over Manhattan. Everyone, I can't tell you enough about Gary Hershorn's work. Going through his work and editing it for this show and showing his work here at the beginning was a treat, an honor, and I can't wait to have him on right now and bring him on and have him meet you. Gary, how are you?
Good morning. I'm great.
All right. You know, the first thing that just ran through my mind is you'd be running around right now taking pictures, man. I hope we didn't cramp your style this morning.
No, I had plenty of time to go out, but it was kind of like a blue sky sunrise this morning, and they're the most boring. So, I lay in bed at 6:30 in the morning, and I check the sky on EarthCam, and they've got about 12 EarthCam or webcams around the city, and I don't even have to get out of bed if it doesn't look very nice. And it's really great.
So right away, quickly, life revolves around the EarthCam in your life, pretty much.
All day long. I'm checking various angles from east to west, west to east, north to south, south to north. Taking a look at the city and getting a view of the skies around town.
I think all you need is an electrode hooked up, so it gives you a little buzz every time every time the weather cam goes off and everything.
Exactly. My one complaint is they keep going offline, and the camera that I need today is offline for a few hours.
Okay.
That always drives me crazy. But right now they're all working.
That's the thing with technology, and it never ends. I mean, we've had a few hiccups here along the road, like everybody does with live streaming and other things. And you know what? You learn to roll with it, right? I mean,
absolutely.
There's only so much that we can all control.
There used to be a time when, you had to make a commitment to doing a sunrise, right? You had to get up and go out in the dark and wait for the sun to come up. And maybe it'd be cloudy, maybe it wouldn't, maybe you get lucky. But now, you can just lie in bed and at that last second, make a decision as to, go out, by the Hudson River and shoot some pictures.
Right. Well, I have to tell you, man, after a news week like we've had again and again and again and again.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, your photos are so therapeutic.
I'm glad you say that, because that's one of the biggest reasons that I do it. It's less about me doing it for me and me doing it more for the people that follow me on social media. Right. I get so many messages from people thanking me for showing off New York City, and there's so many people right now who are New Yorkers who have left town,
right? And
this is a connection to their city that they can't see day to day anymore.
Right.
There's so many people that dream about coming to New York, and there's so many people that have left New York.
That's right.
And retirees and people. And so it's really nice that they take the time to reach out and make a comment, on a direct message and say thank you for the work that you're doing. Because,
well, not only are you one of my favorite photographers and always have been, but the other thing is that, having been, the tie-in with us is more than just photography. You come from a wire background. I come from a wire background, having been a supervising photo editor for the Times Wire service.
Right.
So, we understand each other. We understand. Looking at your stuff is like magic, and I know how much work it takes. I know what the effort that's put in day and night. But the magic is that for you, it's passion. It's passion.
It is, definitely. It is passion, and with the work that I'm doing now, I can't get the wire photographer out of me. So that, last night, I'll shoot a moon rising over the city last night with Mars, and it's published on Twitter and on Instagram 5 minutes later. I'm not the kind of photographer that posts it the next day, and goes home and does all sorts of post-processing on it and try to make it better, make it look as great as it can be. You just shoot it in the camera, make it look beautiful in the camera, drop it into your phone from the camera and post it to Instagram.
I'm taking a look right now, since you're saying that it was just posted, and the magic of StreamYard. By the way, this is StreamYard that I use. It's a wonderful, wonderful platform. In fact, it's my favorite platform. I'm in love with it. It's changed my life, being able to do all this stuff this way and connect the universe. But let's show what you quickly shot here.
That's the moon, and that dot on the left is Mars.
Okay.
There was this big celestial event that was being written about last night.
Wow! Well, look at that! Look at that!
Moon and Mars were rising, and that's shot from from the docks in Newark.
Oh, okay.
Across those houses there are in Jersey City.
Yep.
So I'm in Newark, the foreground's in Jersey City, and the background's Manhattan. And I always like to juxtapose, something in the foreground from another state.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of this program, of this platform, and doing what we do now at Spin It Social Hours, being able to bring things to people in real time and just put it right up there. So there you go, folks. That's what Gary was doing last night while you guys were taking a nap or enjoying a nice show at home. Gary was producing more incredible images.
That was at 7:25 last night.
All right. Well, so wow, there's so much to go over. Let's start from the beginning, baby. The first thing, why did that come off, is the logo there. Is remember, everybody, welcome to the Spin It Social Hour with Stefan Kaplan and Gary Hershorn. And we welcome you to a great hour plus of photography and discussion around all visuals and Gary's work and his journey. So, and what a journey it's been. So let's start off with the basics. Gary, what got you as a kid, as a young man, and you're still a young man, don't take it the wrong way, is you're a kid at heart. I know you are. So I can tell by your energy. What got you started in photography? When did you get the bug, man?
It started in the summer of 1977. I was given a camera by an aunt. The camera just happened to be a Leica.
Okay. Whoa, excuse me, a Leica.
A Leica, M3. And I didn't know anything about photography. I wasn't really interested in photography. I was always interested in journalism as a kid, but never, into the photography. So she gave me a camera, and I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know what it meant. And I went to university that September, 77, and there was a little ad in the first week of the student newspaper.
Okay.
The first edition, and on my first week there, they said, "We need photographers. Please come by the office and let us know if you can help us." So I walked into the office and said, "I don't know how to use the camera. If you teach me how to use it, I'll take pictures for you." And quite literally, 3 days later, I had a picture in the paper with my name on it, and all my friends saw it, and they was like, "Wow, we saw your name in the paper." And it was like, that was it. No joke. That convinced me to spend all my time at university learning how to be a photographer and not going to school.
Yep. Isn't it the most, it's the most incredible thing when you have your first photo published.
It is.
No matter where it is, no matter what it is, I'll always remember the first photo that I had published,
Absolutely. And I ask people all the time, what was it that, where was that? And, how did it happen? And there are two things that people always talk about, watching your, back in our early career, those of us who shot film, watching that first picture of yours come up in the developer tray, and seeing something that you took show up as a print. And under the red light, and getting your first picture published. And but for me, that first picture published was it. It was such a hook that I couldn't let it go. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, it is really, you get the bug. I mean, like I said, once you get bit. And I got
bit, and so I spent the school year of 1977 taking pictures for the student paper. By September 78, when second year started at university, I started freelancing for the Globe and Mail newspaper in Toronto. So I went from nothing, no interest in photography one summer to the following summer where I was freelancing for a daily newspaper.
Right.
And then a year later, in 1979, I went in to show my work at United Press and to the photo editor there, Bob Carroll. And we hit it off, and he became my mentor and taught me everything that anyone could ever want to know about being a wire service photographer or a news photographer in general.
No, it's starting in a student newspaper and other things is so valuable. I mean, I started off at Baruch College working with a Professor Rosalind Bernstein, my guiding light and my mentor, who actually got me, instead of going to law school, convinced me to go into journalism.
Right.
And I'll always thank her for that. Not that we don't need lawyers, but I think I was better suited. Anyway, just working on the business review there. I worked on a big story for Radio City Music Hall, which I loved Radio City. It was my grandmother used to take me there as a kid, as a born and bred New Yorker. Radio City was it,
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from with that. So then how did the journey evolve after that, Gary?
Freelancing at United Press for about a year and a half.
Right.
I got my big break there. There was an election campaign in February 1981.
Right.
And they hired me on a temporary contract to cover the election campaign. It was a provincial election, and like a state election here, and for governor. And it was great. I had never been on a campaign. I didn't know anything about covering politics. But I did well enough for them to hire me a couple of months later. And that's where it started. For me, I got my first staff job in 1980. And that was it. That's where it started, and I worked for United Press through 1985. And United Press was put out of business by its competitor, Canadian Press. The United Press in Canada was owned by the Toronto Sun newspaper chain. And in 1985, they had just about had enough of owning a wire service that wasn't making them any money.
Right.
And Canadian Press had enough of a competitor for the last 6 years that they had never had previously in their history. So they offered the Sun, to buy it, and they did. And at that exact same time, UPI sold its foreign picture service to Reuters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's how Reuters got into the photo business. They bought UPI's foreign picture service in 1985.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
So I immediately became, because I was working at United Press and they bought it, I became a staffer at Reuters.
Okay.
And I worked as chief photographer in Canada for 5 years. I set up their Canadian operation, was in charge of finding photographers, getting the events covered and things like that. And then in 1990, Reuters made the decision to break its contract with UPI, which was UPI covered the United States for Reuters and provided that content for Reuters to distribute to the rest of the world. And in February of 1990, UPI was flailing away, and Reuters said, "You're not giving us the coverage we need," and they cut the contract. And that's when I got asked to move to Washington to be a staff photographer in Washington, and we created a domestic wire service for Reuters in the United States.
Well, you'll laugh in a second because I was like, no, this is not happening on my show. But after all the curation I did for your work, I realized when I went back just now and I was going to put the slideshow up, after speaking about all of this incredible experience and knowledge that you have, Tom Franklin. Hello, Tom. Nice to see you, man. Look who's watching, Gary.
Wow, now I am I'm nervous now.
You're hot now. We've got 30 live viewers plus, and Tom Franklin's in the house.
Professor's in the house.
The professor, that's right. Professor Tom Franklin, by the way, folks, if you don't know, is the legendary photographer who took the iconic photo of firefighters raising the flag at Ground Zero and many, many incredible things. Check out the Patterson Museum. He has an incredible exhibit right now there dealing with refugees. Please check it out at the Patterson Museum. Anyway, Gary, so I was saying that you're not catching me on this one, man. With the historical photo you did of dealing with the Kennedys and everything.
Yeah.
And I have the paper clip and everything. I wanted you to first know that the Pope always gives you his blessings with with your photography.
I appreciate that.
So,
my coverage goes back to John Paul on his trip through Canada in 1984.
Well, this is no doubt in my mind the coolest Pope ever. So
yeah, he's good. Yeah, it was fun covering him when he was in New York.
Anyway, so I was, I didn't have those two clips by mistake in my slideshow, so I threw them right on there because I was not having that happen on my show. So anyway, I found this photo. Now, we showed in the lead photo essay when we opened up the show, a great photo you took of Ben Johnson, Canadian, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing athlete, but unfortunately, as we know, got caught up in a scandal. But regardless, though, this photo, though, the thing that I noted from your archives in Facebook and everywhere else is that you had noted that this was one of the best photos you thought that could have been taken of this event and track and field, and you had it autographed by the photographer Ted Grant in Seoul in '88. Tell us why, in your opinion.
Well, you know, if somebody asked me what's like the biggest event you ever covered, you know, in your 40-some year career,
right,
I still put this race as #1, even with the drug, you know, scandal and the whole bit. This race was still the #1 sporting event I've ever covered. You know, the anticipation for this race was insane.
Wow.
You know, Ben Johnson against Carl Lewis. Carl won the gold medal in 1984 in Los Angeles. He beat Ben. Ben in 1987 set the world record. He beat Carl and set the world record in Rome at the first ever World Athletics Championship. So there was a year-long buildup, and the nastiness. These two guys hated each other. They both accused each other of being on drugs.
Right.
They just didn't like each other. There was no friend. And so there was a year-long buildup to this race, and it was intense.
Yeah.
You know, when we finally got to race day, like I spent the summer with Ben in Toronto. Wow. You know, I became friends with him. I had exclusive pictures of him training all summer in Toronto. You know, all sorts of behind the scenes stuff of him.
Right.
Funny story with Ben. You know, when I first went to the practice track with him, you know, Ben was also like a celebrity. Paparazzis were chasing him. He was like the #1 athlete in the world.
Right.
In '87 or '88. And when the first day I showed up at the track, you know, and he said I could come, right? But the first day I showed up with my cameras to photograph him, I'm standing there, and he did a practice 100 meters. He's walking back to the starting lines, and he dropped his shorts, and he's standing there like in a jock strap. And no joke. And I'm standing there looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, if I take this picture, I'll never come back. And I never took the photo. And I absolutely believe that moment cemented a trust between the two of us.
Yeah, you know, if there's a way to bond, it's by letting a guy drop his shorts in front of you.
Absolutely. So we bonded. I didn't take it. We bonded. And I had full access to him for weeks after that. In the weight rooms, the massage rooms, there was all the places he was getting the drugs done.
All right, let's move on with this one, man. Because this is
so anyhow, this picture was taken by a great Canadian photographer, Ted Grant, and he shot it with a 300 millimeter lens at the finish line with a Leica, no less. And it's just everything's there, right?
No, it is. It is.
Each other. Yeah. I, on the other hand, you know, was about 10 feet to the left of Ted, and that first picture that you showed.
Well,
my picture showed the distance by which Ben won the race.
Right.
You know, it was almost like, as a photographer, the leader ran through your frame, and then everybody else went through. He was
that was this photo right here, folks. Just quickly, I'm not going to show the slideshow again, but I'm just going to show the quick intro right there. That's it, right there.
That's it there. So we're about 10 feet apart, and you can see the two different pictures that we got.
Right. So that's kind of cool, actually, doing it like that.
Yeah, good.
But anyway, perfect timing. It's right at the beginning of the slideshow, so I didn't have to wait long.
That is #1. That event is, without a doubt, I've never witnessed so much build-up and so much anticipation and so much. And luckily, the race was at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon because it was in Asia, and they wanted it at night, you know, on NBC.
Right. Well, you know, it's, you know, the career, I mean, the sports events that you've covered, I've pulled a few here, but, you know, I'll never forget, speaking of another race in a different context, the home run race between McGuire and Sosa that year. I mean, I think everybody was like giddy and caught up in it, right?
They were. I'm telling you, all the steroids. You know, if there were steroids involved, I was probably there. There was this, and then Marion Jones's gold medals at the Olympics in Sydney.
Oh man, I tell you, what would sports be without a little scandal? You know,
I spent about a week and a half with Marion, so it got to the point where everybody I was spending time with, you know, behind the scenes, tested positive for drugs. But
wow, you know, I mean,
this was a true summer of fun.
Yeah, no, this was a true summer of fun. I mean, I was almost done with baseball at a certain point because of the free agency thing and everything else. But these two made that summer really fun.
Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, it was like one ball sailing out of the park after another.
Absolutely, and watch the ESPN documentary on it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, but I mean, then we go to tennis. I mean, I've seen a lot of tennis photos. I've known a lot of great tennis photographers, Adam Stoltman, many people that I've worked with. Many of the Times photographers. I've never seen a shot like this, though, that was so perfect in terms of getting the whole shadow at that depth and also the length of the shadow. Usually they're cut off a bit, or it's hard to get that. You were in a great position, but you really nailed this one with Nadal.
Yeah, you're going following in Al Bellows, the great Al Bellows.
Oh man, let me do this.
Yes, homage to Al. This is the old Louis Armstrong Stadium at Flushing. And,
right.
Everybody knew at 5 o'clock he went to a corner, to get the light on a sunny day. And some days you're lucky, and some days, they run. They're in such constant motion.
Right.
The reason you cut the shadows off is they get too close to you.
Right. No, you really nailed this, and that's very hard to do. I know it is, because I've seen a lot of tennis photos, and that is a very, very intense and great shot. Then of course we go to swimming, all the Olympics you covered. I could have pulled a million photos. I caught my eye. There's always that amazing balance with platform diving, especially in pairs.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Man. I mean, I'll never forget the summer that Greg Louganis hit his head on the board. I
was there in Seoul. Yeah, I wasn't there when he hit it. I had covered the morning session, but didn't go back for the afternoon session and missed it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I want to say about the Olympics is always remember, time and place. And anytime you can put the Olympic rings in the background of an Olympic picture, you pick spots specifically to put the rings in the background. To distinguish it as being a little bit more special.
Right, exactly. I love swimming events in general. So, then we go to. Then we go. I had to find this, because I found this and I remembered something about this. But oh my God! I mean, being a Canadian, baseball in a freezing ice storm, you must have been in heaven.
Well, this is opening day for the Blue Jays. Game 1, first pitch, Bill Singer throwing the first pitch to the White Sox. And, this was April, early April 1977.
Right.
And I think I borrowed my brother's Pentax Spotmatic F to go to the game. I bought a ticket to go to the game. I think it was $10.
Right.
Something like that, and this is day 1 of the Toronto Blue Jays. And
I think they even brought out a Zamboni, right?
They did. They had a Zamboni that sucked up water.
Oh my God!
And before the game, one of the Chicago White Sox players, that was like the picture of the day, used a couple of catcher's shin pads as skis and 2 bats, and he was cross-country skiing across the field.
You gotta love it, man. Oh my God, what fun.
Before I was ever a photographer. So
and then here, look at Gary, folks. Back in the days, in a hallway behind MJ. I presume this is after they won a championship?
Yeah, this was a great story. Quickly, they won the championship that night, and Michael comes walking down the hall.
Right.
Go to the interview room, I guess, and he's being chased by all these reporters.
Right.
And I was the editor, right? And I when I was the editor, I'd go out and shoot the end of the game, like with a 400mm lens, and run back down and transmit the first picture quickly. You have to develop the film, and you're always thinking about getting out quick. So MJ was chased by these reporters, and he ducked behind the table. You can see the scanner that I was using.
Yeah.
He ducked behind the table and sat in the chair.
What?
And I was on the phone staring at the wall, and I sat down in the chair only to find myself sitting in his lap. I didn't know that he sat in the chair.
Oh, geez, you sat in his lap?
I sat right in his lap.
That's a historic moment, man. You sat in Michael Jordan's lap.
And then I noticed the guy's got the basketball he's got the trophy. He's got the Larry O'Brien trophy and maybe the MVP trophy, and he starts having a bottle of champagne, and he's having this impromptu press conference with these reporters, and then he stands up and he starts opening the bottle. He shakes the bottle. He starts opening the bottle of champagne above the scanner and the computer I'm using.
Oh no!
Oh no is right. And this was an old Phoenix transmitter. It was a Dolce computer and this expensive Nikon scanner that T1 made. And he starts opening the bottle, and I'm like, Michael, you can't open it. I need this equipment. And he flicks me off with his hand and he goes, F it, I'll buy you another one. And just as the cork pops, I grabbed his arm and shoved him.
Wait a minute. You shoved Michael Jordan?
His arm was like a steel pole. I'll never forget.
Now, folks, this is a real wire photographer. Don't mess with transmitting the photos, not even Michael Jordan.
I think I even said to him, look on the screen, I'm sending a picture of you. And he, hey, David Brensler from Merlin, the people that made this transmitter.
That's right. Wow. Look at that. Hello, David. Thank you for joining us, David.
The champagne came out and it hit the table and it rolled underneath the scanner and the transmitter.
Wow.
And we didn't have a backup. I saved our night there by shoving Michael Jordan.
Wow. I met him once in the locker room at a Knicks game. Briefly, a friend of my grandmother's took me to a Knicks game. We sat behind the bench, the Bulls bench.
Yep.
The Jordan was in his prime, man. In fact, prime, I had the GQ magazine that he was on the cover of in a suit holding a ball.
Yep.
My grandmother's friend, brought me into the locker room after the game. He had a lot of connections and courtside seats and stuff. So we went back there, and Jordan signed the GQ magazine. He was such a gentleman, and I'll never forget it,
Yeah, it was awesome.
And I realized that point, never have anybody sign anything and put your name on it. Because it devalues it tremendously. But that's not, to me, all I cared about was that MJ signed it,
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's take a moment here. Jonathan, can we do some shout outs, sort of a Spin It Social world tour of anybody that's watching at the beginning who gave some shout outs? Let's start doing that, because we have so many wonderful viewers today, at least 30 plus live viewers, a lot of comments coming in. Tim Sohn's watching from Pennsylvania with the turkeys and the bears, as he says.
Yeah.
Edward Leskin, a big fan of the show, is going to come on one day. A great Leica photographer who's been documenting the steel industry. Stefan Falke, a guest in 2 weeks from now. We'll talk about that later. Good morning, Stefan. Can't wait to have a show with you. Shitachi is is here. Thank you. Peter De Silva, my man. Welcome from California. Deanna's here. Welcome, Deanna. Thank you. Thank you. Tom Franklin, as we know, is here. And the list goes on and on and on. Gareth Watkins. Hey, Gareth. Thank you, man. Brian Horton. Yeah. Who else is that? Look at this. Phyllis Colazzo, my old rights and royalties partner at the New York Times. Loves your work. David Bressler. Thank you. Thank you, David, for being a John Schultz from France. He is all the way from France now. Bonjour.
My old co-workers.
That's right.
That's Brian, the guy that, could never outthink.
Well, thank you for the shout outs, Jonathan. Thank you for going through that so quickly. We wanted
Brian was the hardest guy to beat at a sporting event. He just thought everything. And, when we were competing against AP straight up, it was like, hard.
Oh, you had some. Let me tell you, wire service guys, even I know were competitors, man. You know? So let's talk a little history here, because I know that you were the man that was in the right place at the right time during this historic and very sad day, of course. So I'm going to take it down a notch here. Because unfortunately it was the day that Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, a great first lady, was buried.
Yes.
And that's John F. Kennedy Jr. right there. tell us about this. And I have the photo actually too, so I'm going to show it right there. But this was the front page, folks, of the New York Times, one of the biggest stories back then of, unfortunately, the First Lady dying, former First Lady. So talk about this moment, Gary.
So this was her burial at Arlington. And, you know, John Kennedy Jr. had never really been photographed at his father's grave, right? Whenever he went to pay his respects to his dad, he always went, you know, when the media was not there. He never went on the day of the anniversary when they had the ceremony because he never wanted to be photographed there.
Right.
And you know, for me, you know, once I got assigned to cover this, I always felt that he would go to the grave of his father at some point, right? So they did the whole ceremony. I was there as part of the White House pool. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were there. And so the White House pool was there. So there were like 4 photographers, I think, myself, Greg Gibson, I think was shooting for AP, and David Ake, who runs AP now, was shooting for AFP at the time. And we were the 3 wire photographers. And for me, you know, it was always about getting John at his father's grave.
Right.
And so I got lucky that day, right? I was ready for it. I was waiting for it. This was at the end. And they were all ready to walk out. And he walked over and he touched it, and he was gone in 1 second. Yeah. And
see, that's not all luck, though, man. You know what that is? That's in-depth sixth sense experience. You know.
You know, yeah. Well, you know, you're waiting, you're thinking, you're hoping, you're anticipating. It's kind of like, you know,
yeah.
For me, I was a big sports photographer, so I'm constantly thinking about anticipating and waiting, and expecting something to happen, and waiting for it and trying to be ready for it. And
well, what a emotional, of course, emotional photo, but
it was the only photo. It was the only photo.
His whole body gesture, leaning down like that. You know, it looks to me here like that. This is the moment where he was sort of getting up, right?
Well, he was just bent. No, he kind of swiped it. He didn't.
Okay.
He walked over, went down, swiped it, and got up on one motion.
But I mean, you know, on the left there is that Sadat? No.
This one, no.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't remember who was at the funeral. So
Carolyn's behind him with her husband.
A big resemblance on the left. So
yeah,
you know, who knows how many dignitaries could have arrived for, you know, for certain things.
Yeah, it was a moment you're waiting for. It happened, and click, and you get it. And this was film day, so it's like 1 frame. So
right, no, but you know, what a historic moment. So, folks, now that we've covered some history of Gary Hershorn, now that we've covered his sports history and the greatness that he brought to the games every time he covered them, let's talk about his passion for documenting the New York City skyline. I feel like I should put on the Frank Sinatra song.
Yeah.
You know, New York. And I would if Facebook wasn't such sticklers over everything. But if I put music on this live stream, they would strip it down. And we don't want that because a lot of people are watching. And folks, welcome to the Spin It Social Hour with Stefan Kaplan here, the co-founder of Spin It Social. The Spin It Social Hour, where we're bringing you great photographers every week, in-depth discussions with them, not just talking about what they're presently working on, but giving you the whole journey, the whole history, so you really get to know them. And please share this broadcast so everybody else gets to know them, whether it's now or later on the replay. But Gary and all my photographers, and I call them my photographers because I take them all deeply to heart and try to get them the most exposure they can by doing this, work so hard and bring us such beautiful moments and such powerful moments every day. Let's support them, okay? So this, Gary, I know was the actual photo, and I'll shut up after this. It's the moment where you decided you were going to start doing a whole body of work on the New York City skyline. Talk to us, Gary.
Yeah, you know, so, you know, I moved to New York in 2005 from Washington. And it's funny that I didn't really pay any attention to New York, you know, and the skyline and the light and the moons and sun. I never photographed that until the summer of the 10th anniversary of 9/11. And, you know, it was, you know, let's face it, New York went through a lot for 10 years after 9/11. The
They
city
did.
became stagnant. There was no development going on. Nobody was sure they wanted to build in New York anymore. The fights between the city, the developers, the families, the politicians, the mayor, what to do with Lower Manhattan. And
It was a hot mess, man.
it was a mess. Remember, they had the fight over a mosque that they wanted to build near there.
Yep.
So basically for 10 years, New York stagnated and there was very little going on. And so I was here from 2005 to 2011, 6 years of doing, just working for Reuters, but not really photographing the city. I went out and did the odd skyline, the odd sunset kind of things. But it was really the summer of 2011 that the entire world focused on what's happening in New York City. For that 10th anniversary. I don't know if the same kind of feeling will happen next year for the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, that's right. Next year's the 20th. Wow.
But the 10th anniversary was an extraordinary summer of shooting New York City for everybody.
Right.
Every photographer working in town was trying to come up with a cool idea on how to shoot New York. I think Mary Otama at Getty shot with a wide lux. People were doing black and white.
Right.
A lot of people were shooting with, remember Hipstamatic?
Yeah.
There were the filter Hipstamatic, I think it was.
Well, I have to say one thing in discussion here, because that's one thing I love about bringing you guys on and guys, Universal, everybody on, is that my photographers, is that I love digging into your thoughts about special moments like this, because that is really important to acknowledge and tell everybody. When these big events happen, the one thing that happens in photography in general, whether it's a 10th anniversary of something, or for example, when the hearings were going on recently for the last Supreme Court justice that was nominated, that was put through.
Brett Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh, thank you. I haven't had coffee. I shouldn't have water. I should have coffee in the morning. David Burnett went to the Hill, and he was using his classic 1935. I can't even remember the make of it, but he's an amazing classic photographer. He's one of the best in the world, we know, and he brought a new level of covering the hearings to the game.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was what was happening that summer. Anything went.
Right.
I mean, literally anything went, from using filters in iPhones. I shot a set of pictures using a mobile phone and a Polaroid filter that made every picture inside a Polaroid frame. And no matter what you did, it got published. And people papers, and media outlets around the world were so fascinated with New York City. And the photographers were given such artistic, they could do whatever they wanted.
Sure.
And people wanted anything but the same straight photographs that we've been doing constantly.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that's the one thing that I'll always say, no matter what. The thing that truly distinguishes unique events, of course, is finding those unique moments and photos.
Right. So I started walking the Hudson River Walkway in Jersey, from Hoboken in Jersey City, and I started, looking at how the city looked at sunrise and sunset.
Right.
And I started taking pictures that I had never taken before. And it was like, wow, why am I not doing this?
Right.
And it was also that summer that you can see there, One World Trade Center finally was coming out of the ground, right?
That's right.
Maybe a third or a quarter of the way up.
Right.
And it was,
Well, and that's the thing why I selected these photos. First you have that one where the World Trade Center was coming up from the ground.
Right.
And I chose this Midtown photo to show another part of New York, because it's never ending.
So with this picture, this is Hudson Yards. Hudson Yards changing not only the West Side,
the
skyline of New York in general.
Right.
And what is really frustrating to people like myself and anyone photographing, behind the tall one is 30 Hudson Yards there. Right behind that is the Empire State Building.
I know.
That we no longer can see.
Yeah.
And if you look at this same angle today. To the left of the building that's black on the left there of 30 Hudson Yards, they're building 2 more buildings right now.
Oh.
And they're building another one to the right. So when you take that by being in Jersey, and you used to shoot the Empire State Building straight on down 34th Street. Now you got to go like to 48th Street to get by the buildings to see it.
And it's still not a clear view,
it's like, one of my favorite places to shoot is a place called Hamilton Park in Weehawken.
Oh, yeah.
And I noticed, I was there last week, and I noticed that there's a building going up that's going to block the Empire State Building from there. So I got to now, instead of going to like 48th Street, you're going to have to go to like 55th Street. Getting city to see the Empire State Building from.
Speaking of Jackie O, and that's why, I'm a born and bred New Yorker. So I always keep up on my New York City stuff. And I've always admired people who have fought long and hard to protect the city. And it's beautiful.
Right.
The skyline, the parks, the neighborhoods like Greenwich Village. There was a wonderful gentleman on last night from the Greenwich Village Preservation Society. While we're at it, let me bring and introduce my co-producer, Jonathan Borstein, on. Jonathan, say hello to everybody. Tell everybody a little about yourself and what you help me out with every week, which I gratefully appreciate.
My name is Jonathan Borstein. I am a full-time flaneur, a sometime writer, and part-time tech. The gentleman I helped interview last night is Andrew Berman, the executive director of Village Preservation. They have a wonderful site that just deals with the history and the architecture of what is known as Greenwich Village, although Greenwich Village itself is West Village, NoHo, East Village, and the strange DMZ I live in, sort of in between all of those.
But, Jonathan brought him on last night to Sri Srinivasan's show, who's my colleague in DigiMentors, by the way. I also work with DigiMentors doing the live stream productions and social media work and everything. And Sri hosts this wonderful call every night called the Sri COVID-19 call, longest hashtag ever. But anyway, the reason I brought this into the picture right now, pardon the pun, is that Jackie O, who, when you photographed her funeral there and service, was a staunch advocate, as we know, for protecting the skyline and the especially Central Park.
Right.
And look at all these skinny, ugly buildings that are being built around Central Park. Every time I walk in Central Park, not lately, it makes me cringe when I look over towards the plaza and that whole direction there and other directions now. And then these toothpicks of buildings. Why is that? Because that's the only thing they can do to get past the rights, what do you call it?
The air rights.
The air rights, because they can't do it a certain width. They can't do it a certain, so they build these toothpicks. And now they're doing all these fancy toothpicks. It's just horrible. They're ruining the whole skyline.
They, they're creating a new skyline.
Yeah, but they're also, harming the a lot of things are being harmed in Central Park, nature-wise, because now a lot of those buildings, from what I read years ago, are creating a lot of really problems with the natural way of like the sun hitting at a certain time of the day. Birds are getting confused, migration patterns. So
shadows being thrown into the park that didn't used to be there.
Right. Jonathan, I'm sorry, you were going to say?
The trick that a lot of the developers use is to buy the air rights above a landmarked building, then apply to a space to produce these needle-like or sliver structures. Many of the architects today do not do what architects did 100 years ago.
Right.
Which is to fully examine the shadows thrown by the buildings.
Right. All right. Well,
they frequently skimp on environmental impact of the structures if they don't misrepresent it altogether, which is a separate issue.
That doesn't surprise me. So, Jonathan, do you have a quick question for Gary? I know you always have a great one.
It brings us back to Gary's celestial work.
Yes.
Halloween this year, if memory serves, has both a full moon and a blue moon. How do you plan to photograph it?
Well, I'm not going to give my secret away. What I will say is on Halloween, we have the ultimate alignment that we strive for, and just by as luck would have it, the alignment is perfect on Halloween for what I think is the best moonshot and the skyline, and it'll rain that night. Just because it's perfect. It's a picture that I tried for about 3 years to get. And every time, it lines up like every year and a half or so. And the first 2 or 3 times it was cloudy, so let's hope for Halloween. Because
let's hope.
Everybody's talking about it. This blue moon on Halloween, a full moon, blue moon, Halloween. Well, you couldn't write the script better.
Let me tell you something, man. The amount of moons, I'm losing track.
Oh, they all have a name, and I can't put my finger on it, but I don't know when the moon became a thing.
I know when did the moon become a thing?
It was
About 10 years ago.
Okay.
Thing, and now it's like in sports where somebody might write a feature article about the upcoming Game 1 of the World Series.
Right.
Now every month they write a story about the moon in 2 weeks and what it's called and how to watch it and how to photograph it. And every month now the moon is a thing.
Wow. I got to tell you, it's amazing. I'm sorry, Jonathan. Go ahead. You want to close out?
Have you thought about collecting, like 12 moon images and doing a calendar?
I have, but the problem with that is not every month we get to see the full moon on the night it's full. Right? You see it the night before, which is okay, or the night after, like last night, for example. But I've never got around to doing the calendar, although I've been asked to do one, quite a bit. So.
All right. Well, Jonathan, thank you very much. We're going to continue on. Thank you for driving the car behind the scenes. See you soon. All right. Jonathan Borstein, everybody. So, Gary. Edward Leskin, an avid liker, user, and supporter of the show, says someday it might look like across from Blade Runner and Dante's Inferno. Yes, the skyline is becoming surreal and disturbing.
It is, and it is changing, and but you know what? There's no stopping progress.
No.
I spent some time with some PR people with a developer, and they just basically said, it's a transformation of the skyline. It's a transformation of New York. What are you going to do? People want to build. People need a place to work. People need a place to live.
Right.
Build Hudson Yards, right? And everybody wants to live and work there. The buildings are full.
I know.
And it's like
they're so cheap. I mean,
Oh yeah. It's like they don't have enough office space there, and they've got they just keep building and building. That Neiman Marcus is closing. It didn't make it in COVID and all that. And what are they going to do at the store? They're converting it to offices. Because they can't get enough people who want, they can't get enough space for the people that all want to work in Hudson Yards.
Right. No, I tell you, man. But, let's dig deep into some of the other stuff now. And I'll go through it as we're digging deep because we want to get through everything.
With this picture here, one of the things I mentioned, this is, during COVID back in March and April when it was at night, we weren't going into the city.
Right.
And the photographers in New York that were working every day were documenting the health workers and the quiet streets. And I stayed mostly in Jersey, where I live, trying to find ways to show off COVID in the work that I typically do. And this is one way where most people didn't notice, I'm sure, but the Hudson River was never so calm as it was in March and April because there was no boat traffic.
None. Look at that water, man. It is absolutely still. You'll never get that type of reflection and color with no ripples in it. Now,
you're also at the mercy of the wind and the weather.
Right.
But if the weather was calm and if there was no wind, there were no boats to stir up the water.
Right, look at that. It looks like ice.
That's also a longer exposure. So
okay, but still, I mean, it looks like ice. You could go skating on it.
It was, those are the subtle ways to try and show what was going on in New York.
Right.
during COVID. So,
and then of course, I was going to bring your lightning extravaganzas into the picture here again. Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, wow, man, I mean, you capture the most amazing lightning shots. The next one that I'm going to show always just blows me and everybody out of the water. Talk about this one, because I know you must have jumped when this thing hit.
Yeah, that was so close. That was like, all I remember was, what was that? You're because I was shooting with a cable release, and I was watching this, and I saw that with my eyes, and that camera's on a tripod, and you're triggering it with a cable. That was like, what was that? And it was like,
how loud was it?
It was the thunder after that was very loud. It was close, and it was like, did I get the picture? And there's that feeling of, I think I got it, but did I get it?
You got it. The extensions, everything. I mean, and it's a wishbone too.
Unbelievable.
It's split into a wishbone. I can't imagine. I've never. I'm sad to say, because it does sad me. I wish I could see it one day. One day I'll be lucky enough to be somewhere where it happens. But when that lightning bolt hits the water, it must be spectacular.
Well, it happened so fast you can't really register. But it was so close. The force of it was so close.
Yeah, but this is it. I mean, that must have been the dance of dances, as I would say, with lightning. But you've been to the lightning dance before.
If there's a lightning storm, if I'm free, I'm out there photographing it.
I don't blame you, man. Look at this. I mean, wow. I mean, this is because of the purple and the beautiful moonlight and the lightning. The brightness from the lightning bolt. Wow, man.
The beauty of technology, as a photographer, is there's apps, right? And there's a weather app. There's a pro weather app.
Yeah.
And it pinpoints the storms that have lightning in them. Not every storm has lightning. And so from a photographer's perspective, or a storm chaser's perspective, you know which ones to take your time and go out and be prepared for. Sure. And you can track it. You see the storm coming. You can see it break up or form. And I can be out in the river in 5 minutes, ready to take pictures of a storm. So without the apps, it's a lot harder. With the apps, it's definitely a lot easier.
Folks, just know a trained pro and a wire service photographer, especially most photographers who have either done wire work or staff photography, always have the bag packed and always have the cameras on the table, ready to run, baby.
You're ready and prepared, and you do your homework.
Always
do your homework.
And I love this because I found this when I was digging for stuff, putting the show together, and I love that it shows all the different moments that you captured. And
this was one storm, 1 hour,
right?
And the Trade Center got hit 21 times.
Wow, is that a record?
I don't know, but it wasn't raining. It was just a lightning storm.
Wow. Was it a very humid day? That day?
I don't remember.
Okay.
So, I mean, maybe it got hit more. What's that? There's 6, 12, 13, 16 pictures there. And I got 16 of the 21 bolts hitting the tower.
Wild. But there's also the other parts of storms when they come in. I mean, look at this. This is like, whoa, man. I mean, it's like you wonder what's going to happen next, Yeah.
I love the clouds, the dark clouds. I love thunder.
Well, it's the V, almost, if you look at it at a certain angle, this just large funnel, this V shape. Where were you standing here? Where?
It's just literally on Pier A in Hoboken.
In Hoboken, okay.
And it wasn't raining.
Wow.
At that point. And
that's right. Yeah.
Night, on this storm, it hadn't started raining yet. This was the clouds coming in. But the other nice thing, there's about 3 or 4 spots along the river in Hoboken and Jersey City where you can go out in a storm like lightning and have a roof over your head.
Well, Gary, I have to tell you the truth, and I'm going to when I have nothing to do as I get older, I'm going to petition the Hoboken Waterfront Commission and the city of Hoboken to put a plaque down for you because you own the boardwalk, man.
And it's so yeah,
Can I get anybody? Vincent LaForest is watching. Look at
Nimbus cloud.
listen to him. Cumulus Nimbus Cloud.
He's more of a weather person than me. I just look at the app and say, go.
Vincent is such an incredible photographer, as we all know, and such a techie and everything else. He takes tech to a new level with photography, man.
He does.
He really does. Welcome, Vincent. Thank you for joining us. Wow. So 8 o'clock. I hope the baby's well. We hope the baby's well. We hope you guys are well in California, and stay well. Thanks for joining, Vincent.
So my one bit of advice is, there's all this technology out there, whether it's Earth Cam or a weather app. I use think Radar Scope or the photographer's ephemeris or photo pills for photo positioning, or positioning apps. Use them. They're there to be used.
No. Check out those weather apps, folks, and always connect with Gary. You could always hopefully maybe give you some tips, quick tips. He's busy.
No. Anybody can hit me anytime on.
Oh, look at that. Okay, folks, you have an open invitation to connect with Gary and get some tips here and there. But I tell you, man, you nail everything. Look at this rainbow going literally from the World Trade Center all the way across, and it's a perfect arc, and it's coming right out the top of the World Trade Center, it looks like.
Out of the Trade Center and right to the Empire State Building.
Oh, my God. I didn't realize. Oh, my God. Wow. I tell you, man, you are a photography god.
That is luck at the highest level.
I know, but I always said it still takes the determination.
What it does, what it does is knowing that there was going to be a rainbow that night,
right?
Based on the apps showing the speed that the storms are moving through the area, and they should be gone as the sun is setting.
Right.
So you better get your butt out to the river because there's going to be a rainbow tonight. Rainbows are almost predictable. And,
with you, like I said, I needed 3 weeks to prepare this stuff. I can't believe I did it in 24 to 48 hours. Because, I mean, it was like going through an archive of one magnificent shot after the other. I'm not embellishing things here, folks. Its archive is mind-blowing, especially the New York City skyline stuff. And I mean, look at this. Okay, so here we go. I had to go there, right? So I'm going to pull it up here because I want to get in, and I'm going to say it exactly the way it needs to be said. Our colleague, Mark Lowndy, who is just a riot and a great guy. I have to tell you, he saw one of your pictures lately, and he said, and pardon my French, folks, and Vincent, my French, but Gary Hershorn is the king of lining shit up with other shit. I'm sorry, but that is absolutely the best quote ever about your work.
I laughed hysterically when I saw that comment on Instagram or Facebook. No, Facebook.
Oh, yeah, I said the S word, but you know what, man? CNN was dropping worse than that the other night, so I'm good with it.
One of the things that I also want to mention about specifically this picture is local knowledge, right?
Right.
I have this absolute hatred for railings. So if you walk along the Hudson River or in Brooklyn or wherever you're along the river, you're on a boardwalk with railings so you don't fall into the river, right?
Right.
There's this one spot in Jersey City where you can literally walk into the Hudson River. It's a park. People walk their dogs and all this stuff is going on there, but there's no railing. And so I love going there on the night of the Tribute in Light.
Yeah.
Because you can do this kind of picture.
And
you can get people standing there without a railing in the photo. But that's local knowledge. You got to know where those spots are.
We want you to go visit Gary Hershorn on Instagram. We want you to also visit his website, which we'll put up on the screen again for Celestial. It's NewYorkCelestial.com. We're going to get to his book really quick soon, and we're going to explore some things. I'm not done with you, Gary.
Yeah.
And we're going to make everybody know about your book. Everybody should buy Gary's book. It is a collector's item to be in your collection, and I can't wait. I have to have an autographed copy for my collection from you. It is just a keeper. It was done with a wonderful publisher named Warren Winter. What is Warren's company again, Gary? I'm so sorry.
PSG Wire.
PSG Wire. Warren Winter, Warren, Winter, like winter. Check him out, PSG Wire. And Warren puts out some great books, and he worked with Gary on this. And I'm going to plug Warren and make sure everybody knows about this, and we'll show the book cover. But man, I tell you, what a beautiful, beautiful collection of stuff. Look at this, man. Is that a blood moon?
Right, that's the eclipse.
Okay, that's the eclipse over the WTC, no less.
Right.
Wow.
The oldest night of the year.
Wow, look at that. But we're going to go through some of this other stuff here. Look at this. I'm a big fan of, before the pandemic, of going to the Oculus, and when hopefully we get things back to semi-normal, I'll be down there again. I could stay down there all day doing Oculus shots.
Yeah, me too. So my question is, the city now has two great grand transportation halls, Grand Central and the Oculus.
Right.
And I ask a lot of people which building they prefer to photograph.
Right.
You know, and it's split. It's absolutely split. Most people like Grand Central because
I'll go with it's a dead heat for both.
You know, they're so different. One's modern, one is, you know,
one's 2001 Space Odyssey, and the other one is like Edward said, with certain things, and the Grand Central is classic New York. You know,
right. And the difference between the two is the Oculus can be photographed both in and out.
Right.
And Grand Central, there's not much you can do outside.
Exactly. But I do urge everybody, if it's still open, is it, Gary, the Campbell Room in the Grand Central?
I don't. The Campbell Room?
Yeah, the Campbell Room is this amazing historic room that was built where you can go have cocktails and other things. It's amazing in Grand Central.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Oculus is so futuristic. It's so amazing.
It is.
Look at this. I mean, outside, oh man, it is just built for like amazing, fascinating photos. You know,
it is, and you know, the Oculus for me was when they first built it, especially from the outside, it was better to photograph,
right?
Because you know, they're using the plazas now. They've got places for people to sit, and they've got food markets and markets in the summer, and they're filling up the plazas. And you can't shoot clean pictures anymore.
No,
when the Oculus first opened, they had a walkway that went underneath the Oculus over to World Trade Center,
right,
with this white pristine hallway.
Right.
And at some point, they put, you know, a block-long TV screen.
Right.
On the side of down one side of it, and I think the New York Times architectural critic, I think Michael Kimmelman, ripped Westfield, who owns the place, you know, ripped them for taking this superb, clean, beautiful white marble place and destroying it with, you know, Lay's potato chip ads and you know, and it's unfortunate. And their answer was very simple: somebody has to pay for this structure, and that's how they do it. And the other thing is the floor of the Oculus, what used to be just nothing but white.
Right.
And now they have kiosks and they.
Oh my God, the kiosks! Oh, I know, the kiosks ruined the whole aesthetic.
Totally.
Photographing it from those wonderful higher levels that you could get to,
right,
and photograph. And now there's all these kiosks. My God, there's like a dozen of them.
It is a shopping mall after example.
I know.
It is owned by Westfield.
I know.
But can you imagine kiosks being put on the floor of Grand Central?
No.
Great floor?
No.
So,
you know, New York, like you said, keeps developing. But, you know, in certain ways, I look at certain things as progress. I look at certain things as you can't stop it, like you said. So you might as well go with the flow with certain things. And, you know, these types of new structures that are built with these amazing views.
Right.
From above. I forget the name of the deck here.
This is the Edge at Hudson Yards.
The Edge, right. Wow, I got to get up there one day, man.
It is spectacular. And one of the things I wanted to point out here is, and again, as a photographer, that's on the Edge there. That's opening day.
Right.
If you go back, one of the things is you have, as a photographer, will see things, right?
Right.
And you have to remember that, you know, you got to come back and visit a certain corner in New York to get something that, you know. So with this, I saw this potential picture in March of 2019. And it was when the Edge was being built, and I saw the sun going behind the platform, you know, in March of 2019. And I thought, wow, when there are people up there, this is going to be a really nice picture. So 1 year later, the Edge opens in March. And just what happens, it opens in March 2020. But you know, I look at the apps, I figure out what day I needed to be up there. And it didn't occur to me, I got to admit, you know, I got all these pictures of the sun, you know, at the end of the point coming into the Edge. But it didn't occur to me that the best picture was going to be when it went behind it and it came through the glass floor. Because that's where the sun is, right behind it.
Yeah. Look at that. Wow, that's right. That's the sun coming through the glass floor and creating a natural starburst there.
Yeah. So, but it's having some patience as a photographer, making a mental note that I got to come back. That's shot from like 8th Avenue and 9th Avenue, 40th Street.
Right.
Outside
that's beautiful, man. Well, I got to get up there one day. Look at that view, man.
It's spectacular.
Wow, yeah. I can't wait. But let's talk other classics, man. I love this picture. Some people would just probably pass it up in certain ways. This is a beautiful picture. You know, it has everything in it, man. The athletic, you know, beauty of this gentleman going up to slam dunk this ball. The Empire State Building in the background. The beautiful gate. And it is beautiful because it really provides that extra element. It would have been great with or without the gate. I mean, that's
without the fence. Yeah, it's up in Jersey City. Yeah,
but you know, every angle you cover everywhere. Let's go through some of these. Just amazing. This is one of my favorites, man. Look at the beauty of this at this 9/11 memorial, in New Jersey.
Liberty State Park.
What is it?
It's at Liberty State Park.
Yeah, I mean, look at exactly. Look at the beauty, but the real magic here is the way you caught the sun beaming down on the inside of the memorial with that one person silhouetted there, shadowed there, silhouetted there. Just gorgeous. I particularly absolutely go gaga every time I see this picture.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous. And then, you know, of course, here they come, folks. Lady Liberty. Nobody shoots Lady Liberty like Gary Hershorn, folks. Here we go. I mean, between Lady Liberty and the blood moons and the harvest moons and the lunar moons. And
we're going to stop. This was the, you know, when we were talking about where I started shooting the New York skyline in the summer of 2011. This is when I started shooting the moon. It was a super moon in May 2012.
Look at that, man. Look at that. Wow.
And I'd never heard the term supermoon before. It was in the news. They were talking about a supermoon this weekend in New York. And I was using an app called Light Track back then on my phone and figured out that there was an observation place out at a place called Eagle Rock Reservation out near Montclair in South Orange.
Oh, okay.
It's about 13 miles from the city. You know, the center is being built there, and that orange ball came up, and it was like, oh my god!
I know. Look at that. I mean, it's like
I've never seen the moon like that. I had never seen the moon like that.
No, me neither. You know,
and that's because you know most of us who see the moon don't put distance between you and a skyline. You see the moon when you're in the skyline, like in New York City.
But you know what's amazing when you look at this photo even closer, and I love to pick out all the little details, that's just my nature, is looking at this and there's two things you could be looking at here. One is that the building in front of it is like a stand holding it up almost, and it's or like a blow pop. and the other thing, I'm getting a little childish here, but the other thing is that the two cranes at the top there, those are cranes as they're building that building. Sky cranes look like they're almost like little, you know, parts of if it was a face, you know.
Yeah.
I have a weird obsession with with finding facial recognition and everything, so don't mind me. This is equally as gorgeous. It doesn't always have to be a perfect, like you said, sunny blue day This
Right.
is equally as gorgeous. You know, this photo here makes me think of my favorite show that's, I don't even know if it's on anymore, and that upsets me, is Gotham.
Yeah, you want anything but a blue sky in the morning.
Right, right. Look at that.
Unless you're specifically trying to put the sun itself behind a monument.
Right, right, exactly.
Anything but a blue sky.
Now, of course, folks, I have to tell you, if you dig through Gary's archives on his Instagram page, on his website, if you dig far enough, you're going to realize that Gary always calls in the Royal Canadian Geese.
Yeah, the Air Force. Yeah.
The Air Force, as we call it. He is Canadian, and the Canadian geese tend to be wherever Gary is.
I swear they say, oh, there's the Canadian down there, and they just come fly.
Look at it. It's like they're walking to the edge so you can get the photo of them looking at the skyline.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's talk New York Celestial, folks, by Gary Hershorn, a book that absolutely defies any book you've seen on the New York skyline, and also Lady Liberty, and also just everything else dealing with the harbor and everything else in New York. I have to tell you, it is a gorgeous body of work. And I want to quickly go to the website real quick. Sorry about this. 1 second. I had bookmarked everything but that. And I want to quickly, okay, so here's the book, folks. So look at that. That's a great feeling, man, seeing all those books like that. I'm sure.
It's the same publisher that did Vincent.
Oh, look at that. Okay. The Air series. Oh, yeah. Well, I know that's how I got to know Warren, was through Vincent. I've only met Warren once, and I believe it was even online. But I hope to meet him again and have great discussions about him. I'd love to have him on the show one day to discuss photography, and maybe have you and Vincent on with him and talk publishing.
That'd be great.
That would be great. There we go. There's a future show. So I'll leave it to you and Vince to hook me up again with Warren.
Sure. Great.
But let me stop this share right here for 1 second, and let me share, because we want to move on real quick here, and we want to get to New York Celestial here, and we want to show this off for Gary. So this is the book, folks. This is what it looks like. Check it out online, or go to New York Celestial. You can order right from there. It's a book that anybody would want, for anybody that comes over for cocktails, coffee, tea, crumpets, whatever you want. Let me tell you, man, you'll be looking at it and your guests will forget that you're in the room. I mean, it's that beautiful. So, Gary, I mean, you must be tremendously proud of this book.
Yeah, it's great to have a book, right? You know, it's great to be a photographer who has something that you can show. The weird thing is, though, when I look at it, though, I have this discussion with a lot of people about New York. The photos that I take, unless it's the statue by herself,
Right,
like that, are not timeless images.
right,
Because there's something changing in every picture.
right,
And every picture that's in the book that has the skyline has something different in it now
right.
than what it was. So when I look at it, it looks more historic than it does, what's happening in New York right now. And again, being a wire service photographer, I live in the moment. And now being, mostly on social media as a photographer, I'm really in the moment.
Right.
And so, even a picture I've taken last week, it seems old to me.
Right.
But it is great to have this collection of images put together, and published in a volume that, you'll have forever.
No, it really is. And I'm so glad I wanted to show it. I wanted everybody to see it. I want everybody to know where they can get it. So I'm going to quickly now go back to our other slideshow. And we're going to go on here and wrap things up in the next 5 to 10 minutes. But I just wanted to go through something. Look at this beautiful body of work, folks. I mean, just.
And again, it's knowing, that picture is made from the Manhattan Bridge through the Brooklyn Bridge, the sun setting behind. That happens for like a week in November and a week in February. Mm-hmm. And that's it. If you miss those two opportunities, you got to wait. So.
Yep. No, well, you know when to go, and look at that, man, with the plane flying right over the moon and the Lady Liberty. But this Woo, man! When I see this, man, I'm like, wow, this is it, folks. It doesn't get any better.
It's just, you go out, you go out, and you go out, and you go out, and you hope.
I know, but it
Every night look like that, right?
doesn't get any better. This, I don't know. I mean, far be it for me to have to connect you, but you need to connect up with the Museum of the City of New York.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I'm gonna personally connect you with my friends and my colleagues at the Museum of the City of New York. I have 5 photos in their permanent collection.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And they have a wonderful movie there called Timescapes that's narrated by Stanley Tucci that tells a whole history. You and I will go one day, even with with masks on, and we'll watch Timescapes together. I have a classic NYPD photo from New Year's Eve at the stroke of midnight in the movie.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's permanent. I tell you, the first time I saw my photo on the same wall as Bernice Abbott and Jacob Riis, I flipped.
So that's fantastic.
I flipped. But anyway, getting back to this.
So my point is, what you do as a photographer can be very repetitive, but you got to go back over and over and over again. Ask Brian Horton about all the beautiful work that he does now on the shore, down on the Jersey Shore. You go out every night. You don't know what you're going to be given, but you got to go out, and every night it's a different.
Go. Consistency.
You got to go, and you shoot the same structures, but the light changes every day.
Yep. Here we go, folks. It's just one. It's the Gary Hershorn show. I mean, and the Lady Liberty show. Thank God for this beautiful structure that we will always value, and I hope that we can also value everything she stands for, which we all do, which many of us do. But I'm hoping that we can get back on track. I'm not going to get into the rest.
Of all the structures in New York, that's everyone's favorite.
Yeah, well, it should be. It stands.
Empire State Building is second.
It stands for everything, and I'm not going to get political here, but we need to get back on track fast.
Yeah.
So anyway. Let's quickly touch on this though. You were I know you wanted to be in New York when the eclipse happened and be by the Empire State Building for this one for the book, right?
I did. So everybody went running from New York. All my friends went down to North Carolina. They went all over the place to get the black dot in the sky.
Right.
And I decided I wanted to stay in New York and try to get we had like 77% eclipse here, and I wanted to have something of the eclipse for the book. And so it lined up beautifully from the corner of Fifth Avenue and 38th Street. In the corner, it just went right past the top of it, and it was pretty well. And we got enough cloud cover to create enough light that you could actually see the silhouette.
I love the Empire State Building shots, especially on Pride Day when they light it up. It's just magnificent. Pride Day is one of my favorite days to be in New York City.
Yeah.
I lived in West Village for a good 10
years. Everything's beautiful.
Yeah, I love the West Village. I miss it dearly. I miss all my neighbors there. I miss my whole life there. I miss my hood. But getting through some more things here, let's roll through pandemic and the nature of how I don't want to say everything changed. I mean, USS Comfort that comes in. I never thought, and I prayed that I would never have to see that ship again.
Right. I'm with you. Hope it never has to come back.
Because it sent chills down my spine when I saw it again after seeing it on 9/11. And it sent chills up my spine, tears down my cheeks. And I was like, oh my God, it's back. Thank you for your service, everybody on it. But God, I can't wait for you to leave.
Right.
But this shot is really perfect. I mean, you have all 3 people socially distancing. You have the sign that states the facts, the Coast Guard helicopter, the ship, a gray day, which really reflects the mood, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Thank you.
You nailed it. And then, of course, the glory. God, did I just say that? I'm sorry, folks. Not the glory, but the presence of the USS Comfort coming up the Hudson to the rescue of so many. Will always be indebted to all of the service people who work on that ship and everybody that helps out in medical ways for the city of New York and anywhere they go to lend that help to society at large. Thank you for your service. Magnificent shot. And what a quick story about this family, Gary, and this
Yeah,
moment.
you know, I was in Times Square, you know, photographing, and it was like the strangest thing. These three people sitting there in Times Square at a time when there's no tourists. You know, and it's like, who are these people? When I photographed them, I was like, I was hiding behind a planter so they wouldn't see me, so they wouldn't get up and move or look at me.
Right.
I was spellbound by just, who are these people? As it turns out, about 2 months later, they saw this picture in a publication in Europe. They lived in, I think, in Vienna. And they were Americans living in Vienna who were traveling through New York to get home, and they got stranded here.
Oh, boy. Wow.
And so they were playing tourist. They didn't know what to do, so they went to Times Square, they said, and they're playing tourist in a time of COVID.
Wow.
So weird.
Wow. So this photo will need to be in the Museum of the City of New York, in my opinion, as part of their COVID archives, because this photo speaks volumes. You know, you have a beautiful family sitting there. They're all masked up. Thank God. Some people got it early. Other people didn't. In terms of masking up, but we all must wear them. Please, everybody, wear your masks. If we've learned anything in the craziest 48 to 72 hours right now that have happened, good Lord, science is science. Wear the damn mask.
Yeah. But yeah, so
I'm sorry, Gary, I had to get that out.
No, it's okay. I'm so happy that it got published somewhere and they actually saw it. And I had an email, conversation with them for a week. And
wonderful, wonderful. Beautiful, very, very powerful moment with the Marine recruiting station there.
Yeah, they were in New York for about 4 days before they got out.
All right. Well, then we, of course, have never, ever seen the streets of New York like this, man. I mean, it changed everything. I wanted to get into the city those weeks, but I couldn't because I didn't want to risk certain things because I wasn't getting paid to do the job.
Right. Right.
And I didn't want to put myself in danger that way.
It's a bit scary coming into town. And
especially when it first hit, I said, you know what? I'm not doing that. I have a 13-year-old. We have a 13-year-old, and I let you guys do the work. And now I live through the photos that you guys took for all of us to show us what it was like. But this photo here, man, one lone conductor walking through Grand Central Station with a couple of people in the background, but very, 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 very in this background. This photo is historic.
It's so spooky,
Wow.
Nobody there. Quiet.
Spooky, man.
No footsteps on the floor. No heels clicking on the floor. Nothing.
Spooky, man. And Fifth Avenue. Oh my God. I've been in that spot for 1,000 times or more in my lifetime because I went to school in Upper Manhattan on Fifth Avenue at a French school, and I used to hang out by Rockefeller Center on the way home. I'd walk home. I'd walk all the way from 72nd Street all the way down. I went to the Lycée Français, and I photographed funerals at St. Patrick's for the NYPD, for the Emerald Society, and I've been in that spot a million times where it's been bumper to bumper, packed. And look at this.
I will say though that the photographers in town did a spectacular job documenting.
Oh yeah, and I want to get some others on in a group atmosphere one day because I think that's the way to do it. But right now we have you, and we wanted to go through your work. But look at the Oculus and the social distancing that's going on there only adds to it.
Yeah, people were, this was they're walking towards the New York subway. So these are people that just got off a PATH train.
Right. Oh, I know the PATH system well. I lived in Newport for 10 years.
Yeah. So they've just got off the PATH, and you can see that but there's not that many people coming into New York. It's how do you subtly tell a story about New York being quieter than it normally is.
Right.
And
that's the thing that you lend to the craft in terms of documenting the skyline is that you take a experienced phenomenal photojournalists such as yourself with years of experience doing everything, and you've done so much that, and led teams of photographers and stuff,
Sure.
that you bring that to this, and it only makes it that much better because you have the everything put together, the whole package, as we call
You're
it.
thinking, I mean, like we all went in there and we were all photographing it empty or with like one person walking through or a policeman walking through. Oh, New York is dead. There's nobody here.
Right.
But in actual fact, people were coming on those PATH trains,
Right.
but they were coming in a handful, not a train, load full.
Right. And then, you have the waterfront here, but if you look closely, folks, here, the mask with the big shield that this
Shield and mask. Yep.
on, look, to me, it's very symbolic. It's very tragic too, in my opinion, that you have a gentleman there with a mask and a face shield looking at the World Trade Center, which was the site of the last truly horrific thing that happened in New York.
Right. But when you look at a picture like this 25 years from now, you'll go, why were they wearing a mask?
I know.
And then it'll be, oh yeah, COVID.
I know. Then you have 42nd Street here going towards the East River.
Right.
Man, wow. I mean, holy mackerel. With so much traffic, you never realize how hilly it is.
Hilly, and I never noticed the paintings on the street.
No, because it looks like the streets of San Francisco.
Yeah, weird.
And then, of course, Gary has a whole section on weather shots, which you guys should visit. I don't mean to go through it so fast, but
please do.
We want to move on here. Then there's, of course, the Hudson Yards and the Empire State section he has, and more on the World Trade Center and Reflection. So once again, folks, just know that Gary is the king of lining shit up with other shit. Sorry, I had to go there one more time. I'm a child at heart. People can criticize me for bringing it up twice. I don't care. You know what? We come from a newsroom. If that's the least thing we've ever heard in our lifetime, man, look out. So anyway, newsrooms are an interesting place. So anyway, let's, then, oh my God, the fun shots. Look at this, man. What an incredible moment with this dog jumping over everything. Love this, by the way.
Snowstorms. It's not. Once you get to winter, it snows every day somewhere in the world. Or it snows all the time. But when it snows in New York, it becomes a news event.
Well, this is obviously the PATH train, right?
That's the PATH train, yeah.
Yeah, and the PATH train, goes. People don't know it goes through. Some things, and this one is particular, I think also goes to Newark at times.
Journal Square, Newark.
It has outdoor areas, and look at it covered from the snow, and that guy looking at it. So, and the lettering looks like it's on fire.
So the beauty of New York is if it happens in New York, I don't know why, but if it happens in New York, something as ordinary as it's snowing right now, it becomes a global news story.
It does.
And I like that. I like the fun of that.
You never know what you're going to run into. It could be a guy dressed up. It looks almost like Shakespeare photographing a beautiful model on the skyline area there. Just gorgeous. Here's Gary's beautiful work of art on 9/11 with the memorial lights going up. It looks like rain.
Yeah.
It's amazing with that blue building and all that glass on the side. Once again, Times Square, just magic everywhere he goes, folks. Foggy days. Overcast days, the sun setting, the sun rising on the Brooklyn Bridge, just ballets going on there. It looks like with the sun setting. And I love what this person wrote here, Harry and McClary. There are 1,000,001 photographers who work in Photoshop all day long to try to fake a photo like you make, Gary. What an honor. What a beautiful statement.
That made me smile when Hershorn wrote that, because he and I have spent so much time. He used, freelance for Reuters, and so much time talking about what's happening in photography. The way, so many pictures that are on Instagram are just a bunch of layers put together to make, a picture look a certain way that wasn't real. It's not exactly how the scene looked, but it's become like this wow thing to impress people with. So and people's ability to post process or edit after the fact has become a big thing.
Right.
but unfortunately, they don't tell people that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, we assume.
Oh, no, I tell people all the time, if you're going to be an IG or an Instagrammer, as we call it in social media, do me a favor. If you're altering your photos beyond belief, even to the whatever degree, make sure you put a little disclaimer or other notes, because I can't stand, let's keep the craft true to form. And if you want to fool around with everything, no harm, no foul, but note it down so that people know,
I'm with you.
And let's close out the show with a photo I wanted to put on to honor your daughter.
Thank you.
This is a beautiful photo. Gary has a wonderful daughter who just turned 13, and I wanted to put this beautiful photo up that I love, because I love dogs and I love kids, and I thought this was just such a beautiful photo to have close the show out. Gary's a wonderful father, I know, and I've seen so many photos of his daughter digging through his archives. And Gary, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, man.
Oh, hey, thank you for asking and hosting the show to begin with. The effort that you're putting in to do this every Saturday is really appreciated.
Well, we're going to be closing out now, and I just wanted to say I want you to hang on. Folks, follow Gary's work at newyorkcelestial.com. Check out his book. Also, check out Instagram, Gary Hershorn. Please share this broadcast once again right now. I see there's a lot of live viewers still. They hung on all the way to the end. Gary, you are a star and a wonderful person. So everybody hung in there with us. And we had a great live viewership today and a lot of comments. But I wanted to also tell everybody, please share, let everybody watch the replay. Yes, as somebody asked earlier, this replay is available on YouTube at the Spin It Social Hour. It's available on Twitter at Spin It Social, and it lives on Facebook. So you have 3 places and avenues of opportunity. And I've been lobbying and also trying to get on LinkedIn, and I think that's going to happen soon, hopefully. And can't wait to be on that great professional platform sooner or later. Love LinkedIn. Love everything LinkedIn's about, the professionals network. And so, Gary, I'm going to close out here. Would you hold on for a minute? And just want to do a quick goodbye. And then we're going to let everybody know, by the way, about next week's show, which will be in 2 weeks. I'm taking the week off next week to go camping with my son. And our son, and I want to take the weekend off next week, but also prepare for an incredible show we're going to have in 2 weeks from now with Stefan Falke. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. But in 2 weeks from now, hold on, everybody. I want to tell you about this show. Gary, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Gary off the screen here, and I'm going to put up next week's show with Stefan Falke. I'm going to take the banner off. Thank you for everybody who's putting comments there about the show today. Stefan Falke, follow him at Stefan Falke _portfolio at Instagram, and Border Artists. Stefan's been working with artists on the border of Mexico and for many years now. And we are going to have an incredible show 2 weeks before the election. And we are going to explore and highlight some wonderful, wonderful artists that live along the border and beyond from Mexico. And we're going to bring someone as guests. Stefan's going to work with me on this. And we're going to show them in the beautiful light that the Mexican people and artists and everybody else should be shown in. And not demonized for the ludicrous things that have been going on over the past who knows how many years now. A beautiful country with beautiful people and beautiful artists. So thank you for tuning in once again, folks. It's been the Spin It Social Hour with Stefan Kaplan. A quick shout out to the NYT Read Along happening tomorrow with Andrew Rosenthal, folks, former New York Times editorial page editor, a colleague when I was at the Times, incredible editorial page editor and writer. Andrew Rosenthal, folks, join the NYT Read Along, where we tackle with Sri Srinivasan and the DigiMentors crew and the NYT Read Along team. The New York Times, great way to go through the paper every week at 8:30 every Sunday online. And also check out Sri's Fundamentals of Social Media Muckrack Academy special, free. Get certified through one of the top experts who I'm always near and dear and thankful to work with, the leader in the space. the leader in bringing everybody together. People call me Mini Sri of connecting people sometimes, but Sri is the true connector, the global connector, and we all love him for it. Please follow Sri and Muckrack Academy, mrac.co/social, free, folks. Learn the essence of social media and everything you need to know. It's a great thing. I help produce the show and direct it, so check it out. And then finally, she's on call tomorrow with two of my favorite doctors, Dr. Sujana and Dr. Marina, Sundays at 11 a.m. and Mondays on WBAI. Check out She's on Call and learn everything about what's going on with COVID and other lifestyle issues. Two great doctors with tremendous insight. Learn all about it and tune in. Anyway. Thank you, folks. I wish everyone well for this weekend. Be well. Be at peace. Take a news fast this weekend a little if you can. It's been another crazy week. Have some ice cream. Have some pizza. Enjoy your life. I wish everyone well. Thank you, folks. Spin It Social Hour. 2 weeks from now, we'll be back on with Stefan Falke. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Take care. Oh, let me end it. Thank you, Gary. Bye-bye.